Yeah.
I mean, I hope the other two.
I'd like to welcome everyone here to the September meeting of the Redevelopment Commission. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first piece of business is opening of bids.
Yes, thank you, sir. We have 3 bids that we're going to open today, or we have 2 that we're going to open today. We're going to ask that you make a motion to table the opening of the St. Joseph Energy Center Water Treatment Plant Phase 3 expansion bid until a special meeting that we're going to hold on Tuesday, September 24th at 9 a.m. So if we could, I don't know if we need a motion to do that, Counselor?
I would suggest a motion, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to table.
Is there a second?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goebel?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. So the next 2 items, we have 2 sets of bids, and it looks like we've received 2 sets of bids. I'm going to turn these over to DLZ to open. The first is for State Road 2 Force Main Lift Station and Gravity Sewer and Water Main Project, Project 92403-S.
Okay, the first bid being opened is from C&E Excavating from Elkhart, Indiana. Okay. The amount of the bid is $10,895,376.00. And it appears as if addendum 1 has been acknowledged and some of the other supporting documentation is within this, so put that aside. The next bid is from HRP Construction out of South Bend. HRP's bid is in the amount of $13,170,000 and 0 cents. $13,170,000 and 0 cents. There's a missing 1 0 in there, but that's what it appears to be. So we'll again evaluate these and. So that concludes the opening for State Road 2.
We ask that you make a motion to accept the bids and refer them to the design team to review and.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goebel?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next project is the Smilax Road Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project, 92402-S.
Okay, the first bid is from C&E Excavating from Elkhart. Okay, the bid from C&E is $10,385,374 $10,385,374.00. $10,385,374.00. The next bid is from HRP of South Bend. Okay, HRP's bid is in the amount of $10,825,000. $10,825,000. And that concludes the number of bids for Smilax.
Is there a motion to accept these bids for review?
So moved. Second. Motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble? Aye. Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next in your packets, you will find the financial reports for the month of August, including a list of transactions, account balances, and open purchase orders. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on any of those. Okay, thank you.
So the next item in the packet, we're jumping down to New Carlisle Economic Development Area, is Resolution 2024-15. This is a declaratory resolution to amend the Economic Development Area and the Economic Development Area Plan for New Carlisle's Economic Development Area. The purpose for this is really threefold. We have three different actions and activities here associated with this. The first is to put properties that are associated with the Amazon Web Service project and declare those as designated taxpayers. By designating them as designated taxpayers, that will allow us to collect personal property in addition to the real property that's already collected because it's within the economic development area. So by being able to collect the increment generated off personal property and the enterprise technology property, that will allow us then to collect that additional revenue into the EDA. We did not do this back in 2023 because the project wasn't formalized enough and we didn't know exactly what parcels the AWS project was going to land on, so we didn't do it at that time when we did that plan amendment. All of the parcels that are part of the Amazon Web Service project are already within the EDA, so we're not looking to expand the EDA for that purpose. The second project here is to expand the area, to add parcels to the acquisition list, and to add to the area and create a new economic development area, allocation area number 5. And in your in your packet, allocation area number 5 is an area really largely west of the existing area. It includes some area that was already in economic development area, allocation area number 1. Property that extended along the train tracks in US 20. It included the area contemplated for a potential South Shore station on the trailer park site and some adjacent properties there. What we're looking to do is partner with the town of New Carlisle to create almost a town-specific allocation area to help coordinate with some projects that the town is working on, to help coordinate on some property acquisitions, some property development projects, as it would relate to bike and ped trail, specific to connection project under the railroad tracks to connect the north side of town with the central part of town. So a number of projects contemplated in this area, but that would be the second project, would be to modify, reduce allocation area number 1, expand area, and create area number 5. So that would be the second project. And then the third is really the subject of the next resolution, and that's to create a structure to allow for bonding to do a small bond to do some property acquisition related to the interchange project, and then some projects contemplated within allocation area number 5. So that's kind of a high level of what we're looking to do. There's the maps, there's all the general information in the packet. And Thomas Everett from Barnes and Thornburg is here if there's any specific questions about Resolution 2024-15.
How many residents are in this new space?
So I believe when we did the residence calculation, there would be a total of 33 new properties added to the acquisition list. Total together with the properties that were already in the area was, I believe it was 50 total properties or 51 total properties. Largely, the residential properties are along US 20 south of 20. There's not a lot of, there's a commercial node along US 20 that includes Joe's Grocery, a car wash. Kate O'Connor's is in this spot, as well as former convention center property that's now auction house. And then some ag property to the north that's being proposed for development is right now mini storage warehouses, but also some other mixed family or mixed residential, mixed use type projects. So a lot of different properties in this area, but again, kind of contained within a designated project area with some very specific projects targeted.
And that'll bring all of the access and benefits to the rest of the district.
Yep, absolutely, yep.
Have you heard from any of these folks?
We have not, so this is the first step in the process. Notice won't go out to the affected property owners until we get through the next step in the process. So after the Area Plan Commission process, which would be next Tuesday, then we send notice, and so all the property owners have to be given notice of the confirming resolution, which would be set, which is a public hearing, which would be set for October 8th. So there's a 10-day notice provision before that would go out. And we'll send that notice out well ahead of time.
And being on the acquisition list does not mean necessarily they'll be acquired.
That's correct. There are some properties that the town is working on right now to do some acquisition that we may come help either partner in or take over the acquisition process for, but by having them on the acquisition list, that allows for that flexibility. I would also note that Marcy Kaufman with the town is here, if there's any questions, but I believe the town is supportive of this action. We're doing this in partnership with the town, so.
And that was my second question
Yep.
was, were we working with the town? And
Yep.
apparently we are, which is good.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2024-15?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So the next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-16. That one I will let Mr. Everett talk through as it's specific to the bonding process.
Good morning. Tom Everett with Barnes and Thornburg at 201 South Main Street in South Bend. So as Bill mentioned, this resolution authorizes the issuance of special taxing district bonds of the St. Joseph County Redevelopment District. And these bonds would fund various property acquisition, road improvement, and utility infrastructure projects that are in or serving the new Carlisle economic development area. The total principal of the amount of the bonds would not exceed $5 million, and they would be issued at an interest rate not exceeding 7%. The bonds would be payable from an ad valorem property tax on all property within the taxing district. However, the bonds would also be payable from a pledge of TIF revenues from the new Carlisle economic development area, so there is no anticipation of needing the tax backup. If approved today, the bonds will also need to be approved by the county council at the council's meeting on October 8th. I'm happy to answer any questions on the resolution.
Just to clarify, do we expect these to be paid with the TIF revenues or from the property taxes? Because we did the property taxes first.
Yes. So we expect that these would be paid from the TIF revenues, and the property tax would only serve as a backup.
Is there a reason to bond these as opposed to just paying for it straight up?
I think the size of the projects, with this $5 million would be a $5 million right up front, and would allow us to spread the debt service over a longer period of time in order to allow for a bigger project up front.
And there's no proposed increase in any taxes, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, let me maybe answer your question a little more direct. So we have some very immediate needs as part of the State Road 2 Larison intersection project to do property acquisition for the interchange project. So as we look at the funding stack for the intersection project, state's going to put in 31 million. It's still being negotiated, but it looks like 31 million from the state, 12 million from the county, and 7 million from Amazon. So part of our mix of that is going to be property acquisition. We know that we have 6 properties. 5 of those are currently owner-occupied properties that we're going to have to do acquisition on. And with the cash flow we have right now between the GM project and the AWS project, we just don't have the cash flow to be able to meet the demands and the timeline for that. So it really is one of those that's kind of a quick hit doing those. I think the way we'll set the bonds up is we'll have an early call date. So as we start getting revenue in from the AWS project and have some revenue to pay off the bond early, that would be the goal, is to pay that bond off early so that we just don't have a lingering debt on that area. So, and then again, a couple of quick projects with the town too. I mean, there's some timeliness for some acquisitions there too. And again, we just don't have the cash on hand to be able to do the utility or the property acquisition projects immediately. So it's trying to just get those done as kind of side projects that'll make some immediate impact, so.
Yeah, you knew exactly what I was thinking.
Yep. It's really a timing thing more than anything else, so.
The interest rate would be set at the time we issue the bonds. Rumor has it that rates may change.
That's what I've heard.
That's why I said rumor.
Yeah.
Yes, at the time of issuance.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble? Aye. Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, there's a number of professional service agreements. This first one is for the Fillmore Road Project, Amendment 1 with Lockmuller Group. This is really kind of a cleanup agreement. As we had done the Fillmore Road design a couple weeks ago, we put that project out to bid and open the bids. As part of that, we had a cul-de-sac that we had to build on Willow Road. Willow Road is the west side of the GM site. As GM vacated Fillmore Road and Walnut Road, we have this dead-end road that you kind of get stuck at. So as part of the project, we are building a cul-de-sac to correct this issue. It's a kind of a safety issue, and for the buses and everything, the school buses that get stuck down there, we're fixing that. But that design wasn't contemplated. As part of the project, we were originally going to build Fillmore Road as an asphalt project. We're doing it as concrete now. So there were design specs that had to be updated in the plans, and so that wasn't contemplated when we originally did the Fillmore Road design. And again, because of the concrete, then you had additional drainage projects that we had to do. So 3 small projects, those projects added about $20,000 to the design side of the project. So what we'd ask for your approval on today is Amendment 1, which would add $20,000 to the project for a total design project of $343,450. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Mr. Garrett?
Motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble? Aye. Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item in your packet relates to the second resolution, and that is for professional service fee or professional service agreement with Barnes and Thornburg related to financing. So this is a financing engagement letter. Typical, it's something that we do for all our bond projects. This is a fixed, there's the rates for the project, for the bond projects are within the document, the hourly rates. So this is an hourly rate structure, will be contemplated to be part of the project and will be covered as part of the typical fees that are associated with selling a bond. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
The only question is that I don't like open-ended contracts.
Right.
If there's an estimate of what the cost may be, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, just an idea.
My estimate would be probably around 125 to 150,000
For, of legal fees?
of legal fees, yes.
I should be a lawyer.
It's overrated, let me tell you.
That's what my brother says.
The law school debt's fantastic. Well,
If only I could go to Valpo.
yeah, well, when they had a school, it was a nice little school. Now they don't even have a mascot, so.
I'm not seeing the rate structure. Is it in here?
Is that not in the packet?
Which is why I asked the question, because there isn't any.
I thought the hourly, you know what, I wonder if it was one of the pages that just didn't get photocopied right. Why don't we do this? Why don't we table this until the
24th?
special meeting on the 24th? We'll get that structure in there, if that's okay. No, there's,
So
Motion to
that's
table?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goebel?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
that's my error, I apologize for that. And that's what happens when you let me put the packets together Friday afternoon. So. Next item in the packet is one of my favorite projects. So over the last several years, we've been working with a number of parties on an area that's really kind of in between areas. So in between the airport, in between the IEC, in between City of South Bend, in between the county. And it's a project area that's in the process of being developed called the Western Preserve. The Western Preserve is really kind of a natural area. The goal is really to create a next level, new level planning district and development district that really stretches from the state line all the way down to Potato Creek along the Continental Divide. There's a number of projects that are starting to develop themselves. We've done a number of projects with Shirley Hines Land Trust along the Leidick Bog, done some property transfers with them to increase the footprint of Leidick Bog. South Bend Chocolate Factory, Indiana Dinosaur Museum just recently opened up. That's within the Western Preserve area. There's some other projects happening in that area, but a lot of the development will be focused on preservation and preservation activities. We're having separate conversations about how we, the county, can partner with the Kankakee River Basin, Yellow River Basin Commission on improvements to the Kankakee River area that's also within this area. So a lot of really dynamic projects that just need some central coordination. And so what I have before you today is a kind of a development proposal and services proposal with Community Redevelopment Partners, LLC. It's a group that we've been working with for really a couple of years at this point, kind of on a casual basis, but what we'd like to do, or what I'd like to do, is ask for your approval to formalize that agreement and put some structure behind this. Community Redevelopment Partners is really, they've been working a lot with Mark Turner at I'm going to just call it Choco Dino World, because that's what I always call it, but at Choco Dino World and kind of that whole area. They're doing a lot of work with the Pokagons and some projects that they want to do, and how we integrate them into the trail network, and how we integrate some other projects into this corridor. So, but part of the problem is time, and when we only have 3 staff members and a project of this dynamic nature and coordination with the city and other projects on the table, we just don't have enough time to keep this one in-house. So what we'd like to do is enter into a contract. This is a year contract from September 1st to June 30th to put some organization and structure behind this project. We've got a couple other projects that we're working on with City of South Bend, kind of as a co-partner on, looking at a hotel project in this corridor, looking at some other things. And we just need some additional staff services and coordination on this. Sean Peterson, who's been working on this area and is really the face of Community Redevelopment Partners, will bring together a lot of this coordination, collaboration. And so I would ask for your approval of this contract. Again, we've got another New Carlisle Economic Development area, and whether we pay it out of that or we pay it out of the general redevelopment, we'll kind of work through that. But again, it's kind of one of these where it's not in a specific area. It's kind of adjacent to the Northwest Cleveland area. It's kind of adjacent to New Carlisle, so I'm just putting it here and I would just ask for your approval of his contract, please. It is a monthly contract with not to exceed amount of $300,000.
And again, we're paying $300,000, which is fine. The redevelopment commission has spent a lot of money on trails and things of this nature. I mean, it's one of the good things we do for the community, among others. Our other entities, you have private entity, you have a trust, you've got the city, you've got the county. I assume they're also doing different contracts, different things in the area?
Yeah, so the City of South Bend has been largely focused on some of the hard numbers. So participation, South Bend Chocolate Project, either through utility extensions and some coordinated utility extensions, some adjacent road improvements, some things like that. So their money has gone into those kind of hard costs and hard numbers. We did a partnership through the American Rescue Plan Act money that the county had to partner with the airport to transfer and sell some land and do some things there to benefit Shirley Hines Land Trust. And Shirley Hines Land Trust continues to invest in the area and make improvements. So again, there's a lot of people making improvements. What we're doing, our kind of a role in this at this point in time is to kind of help pay for the convening cost and kind of putting the organizational structure together. And again, whether this ends up as a county economic development area, an expansion of one of our existing areas, a new area, or a city area, or a combination of both, that's what we hope a lot of this outgrowth becomes over the next year.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any further questions?
Have a
Mr. Garrett?
motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goebel?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item on your agenda is a professional service proposal from Steve Santee. We were asking Mr. Santee to appraise some property along Smilex Road for an easement and some right-of-way acquisition. And Mr. Santee's proposal to appraise that land is $1,800. Any questions?
Motion,
Is there a motion to approve?
yeah, motion to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goebel?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item on your agenda, because we always get two appraisals, this is for the same parcels. This is for Mr. Iverson Grove to do the same appraisals for right-of-way acquisition and easements along Smilex Road. Mr. Grove has proposed to charge us $2,000 for those appraisals. Any questions?
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goebel?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just a quick comment. We mentioned something before the meeting. If the staff thought it was advantageous to have an on-call agreement with some of the appraisal firms that might lower costs or may make things more expedient, you could certainly look into that. I don't mind approving the appraisals, but we seem to do a lot. Again, if it makes economic sense and it follows all the rules and laws, you can look at it in all your spare time.
Okay. Well, we could certainly take a look at what we spend on an average basis and then, maybe put together a proposal based on kind of
So
that.
you don't want to hear me talk to you guys?
I'd much rather you than Mr. Fotia, because he left, so.
Wow. Please put that in the minutes. And this is Mr. Jordan. Next item on the agenda, or the last of the professional services, is procurement package number 1, Division A, change order number 1 with Ferguson Waterworks. So as part of the work we're doing out in the IUC, with the original project, we had done a early procurement for pipe. We have a need to do some additional pipe work. What we're looking to do is kind of get ahead of the game, if you will, to buy pipe under an existing contract. This is big pipe, so it's 30-inch PVC pipe, 1,176 linear feet of this pipe. This will be used as sanitary sewer as we go south out of the Fillmore Road area, so Larison Road Lift Station project. We've got a sewer network that we're ultimately building. One of the bids we took today was the State Road 2 lift station project. This will help us get a leg up on buying some of the pipe for that. We've got a fixed rate for the pipe, and it's pretty specialized pipe with the size. So we'd like to get ahead of the game and buy the pipe. What this does is it keeps us under the 20% change order rule, so we still have flex space in the cap, so we don't violate the 20% rule, but would like to buy an additional, it would work out to $190,218 worth of pipe. Please.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble? Aye. Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
If we could skip the award of bids, I think they may still be doing some tabulation, so if we could skip down to AM General and the professional service proposal there. We had started, and this is one of these where we had started a Capitol Avenue corridor plan about a year ago. We got a lot of work done on it. And then kind of in the middle of the process, somebody named Microsoft came in and said, hey, I'd like to buy 900 acres in the middle of the site. And that kind of threw off some of the dynamics and has changed some of the planning and done a lot of additional coordination. In addition to that, there was some additional work that we did with Patriot Rail on a Chrissy grant. And so there's some additional work with that has kind of changed the dynamics of that master planning. So that's generated an amendment number 1 on the project. Terry has picked up the project. Terry's going to be bringing it across the finish line for the first phase. That's going to be some stakeholder meetings and some other work to get this first phase done. But this extra work has generated an amendment number 1 in the amount of $10,488. We'd like to just kind of clean up this account and just ask for your approval for this amendment, please.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble? Aye. Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So the next item is a grant submission, and this is kind of a special one. This is something that we tried to do about a year and a half ago. We started a process to look at an overpass, a rail overpass, a rail underpass at Ash Road or County Line Road and Lincoln Way. We started this process based on some community feedback that there was a need to do some work here. As we've coordinated with the railroad, they have a huge interest in seeing this project move forward. So what we'd like to do, we're working with MACOG on a railroad crossing elimination grant, an RCE grant. This would be a design and a pre-design and early environmental coordination grant application in the $1 million range. So this should get us to a point where we could get through the pre-design and get to the early environmental stage of the grant application process. So we could be in a position then to seek funding for the NEPA, which is the National Environmental Protection Act study that would then allow us to be eligible for federal funds. We'd like to ask for your approval to do 2 things. One is to provide financial participation in a match of the grant. So we're still working on what the final match would be. We're working through MACOG to get funding from Elkhart County so that they could provide 50% of the match. And so there's a good conversation going on with their staff to provide 50% of the match to this. We had a great conversation with Norfolk Southern yesterday. While they can't be a financial participation at this level, at this point in the process, they are going to write a letter of support that says they're fully in support of the financial participation when it comes time to build an overpass at this location. For them, this would be a huge win, and some other coordination of some, whether closures or some modifications of other crossings in the Osceola to even eastern Mishawaka corridor would be a huge improvement for them. So they're very excited about this project. So we'd like for your approval to file the grant. And we'd need the president's signature probably on a grant letter of support, as well as then providing financial support. As soon as we know what that financial support is, we'll come back and give you a report on what that is. The grant is due by the end of September, so we're kind of in a pinch as far as the time on that. But I would note that Stacy Reeves, Stacy's been, her son was killed at this intersection, and was hugely supportive of when we filed the RAISE grant, and the family's excited that we're continuing and trying to, again, apply for funding on this project. But I would just note that there is a lot of community interest in this project. So if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
I only say I go over that crossing every day.
Yeah.
And it is a difficult crossing. If we spend this money, are we obligated down the road for the whole, I mean, for other funds? Because if it's Elkhart County, St. Joe County, it's just,
So that's what we've got to work through, and so what we're trying to do is get to the point where we know that that we get ourselves in a position to be eligible for funds. And so as MACOG has become more of a participant in this, they're able to get additional federal funds and help coordinate and be able to help coordinate between the counties. So instead of us, St. Joe County, taking this on alone, the ability to partner with Elkhart County, partner with the railroad, and bring in some other participants should lower our total cost, but make us more attractive, I guess, for the potential for funding down the road. And especially having the second district congressman on a committee that helps support this grant, is one of these timely things right now that's kind of important to position ourselves for this.
okay.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble? Aye. Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So we got one more item. If we can cover that real quick, we'd skip all the way down to additional business. There is a proposal in your packet for a new program with the auditor's office, and I will let Abby talk about that.
Hi, Abby Doyle, Chief Deputy Auditor on the second floor of the Auditor's Office. We are coming to you today. The Auditor's Office would like to implement a new program with DebtBook. DebtBook works exclusively with government entities in it's an online program that helps manage and oversee debt, leases, and subscriptions. This is critical for our government, our county government, because we are required to do a gap conversion in our financial reporting. And so as our county continues to grow, this will make it easier for the auditor's office and the departments that help us when it comes time to do our financial reporting and our county audit. The three departments that would benefit from this program would be the auditor's office, fleet management, and economic development. Economic development would focus mainly on the debt portion of DebtBook, and as I just heard earlier, another bond potentially. And so this would alleviate time for any of the staff when it comes to the county audit and us reaching out for additional information. It also provides a huge level of transparency. Within this contract, there's unlimited users. So if anybody needed to go in there and take a look at things, they can. We're asking for this to be shared equally throughout the three departments. We would like to implement this year so that we can get started when it comes to 2024 financial reports. So for 2024, we're asking for economic development to contribute $7,333.33. That includes part of the implementation fee, but then for 2025, it'll decrease to $6,180, and then in 2026, there'll be a 3% increase. This is a 3-year contract. Any questions?
This is public accessible?
The reports will be uploaded into Gateway, which are then public accessible. And then the auditor's office does create a lot of reports already. This will make it easier, and we'll upload that to the auditor's office webpage.
Can you implement this with the existing staff?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was your question?
I mean, you're just adding a program, not a data entry position?
Right, just a program, yeah. So ideally, because this is economic development, will focus on debt, but there are a few subscriptions, like like Civic Plus or anything along those lines, where if it's online and it is a contract that's more than 12 months, that is part of our gap conversion that we have to report on our financial reporting. So if we require all of our departments to just put in these contracts right after commissioner approval, this program then scrubs the contract and makes sure that, one, if it's GASB related, then we can go ahead and make sure that everything is being reported correctly on our financial statements. Right now, I think that some things are getting lost, but DebtBook is going to be doing the scrubbing for us, double checking everything. The only data entry is just scanning it into the system, double checking to make sure that everything went in correctly. But no additional positions.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Mr. President, I just would let you know that we have one of the bids reviewed and tabulated. They're working feverishly on the second one. So we could I would either ask that you maybe take a couple-minute recess, or if you want to do public comment and then we come back, whatever's best.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I would assume we do public comment because it's part of our business. If there is anyone who'd like to speak, you have a 3-minute time limit. If you're online via Zoom, just put the hand up and we will call on you. Just state your name, address, and you're welcome to come up. Okay. I knew this would kill a good 45 seconds. Anyone online? I see Mr. Murphy's online and here.
Very efficient.
Okay, I'll close the public comment. Now I can tell everyone about my vacation.
I'd suggest perhaps a 5-minute recess.
Yes, I
Mr.
would suggest. Do we need a motion for that, or just?
We do not.
Okay, we are
Recording in
going-
progress.
We'll reconvene the meeting to look at the awarding of bids.
Mr. President, after review of the bids, we'd like to, the first one would be award to CNA Excavating LLC in the amount of $10,895,376 for the State Road 2 lift station, force main, gravity sewer, and water main design project, project number 92403-S. This recommendation is subject to the receipt of their financial statements. Apparently that was not included, but we would ask for this award to be subject to that.
And also approval of the Board of Commissioners.
Yes, also, yes, correct. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to,
So moved.
Is there a second?
second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. President, we'd like for you to consider awarding CNE Excavating LLC in the amount of $10,385,374. The Smilax Road Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project. This is County Project number 92402-S. Again, this recommendation is subject to receipt of the financial statement and approval by the Board of Commissioners.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
And then, Mr. President, just for purposes of the record, I'd recommend a motion to table the award of Phase 3.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Goble?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath?
Aye.
And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Aye.
Goble?
Aye.
Mr. Horvath? And Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Frank, where?
Just sign, all of you need to sign the bid awards, if you could please.
I mean, just on the back?
Recording stopped.
Wherever.